the night, dream delight. I want to see you standing. Oh, hi! I didn't see you there. Probably because nobody watches my videos, but anyway, I've had a bit of a long day today, so I think I'm going to retire for the night. Oh. Good night. Whoa. What is this place? Whoa! I'm flying! Ugh. Whoa. That was a crazy dream. Welcome to the game room with MaxLine93 on YouTube. Episode 4, Nights into Dreams, Retrospective and Review. Nights into Dreams is an action-type video game with a sort of a 2.5D layout in a 3D setting, and it's got elements of a 3D platformer, but it's also mostly a 2D flying game or something like that. The gameplay in question isn't really something that can be explained through words, so I'll show you a bit of gameplay footage later on. But first I'm just going to give you guys a background. So this game, Nights into Dreams, was published by Sega and developed by Sonic Team for the Sega Saturn in 1996. Now, Sonic Team, as we all know, have been most popularly known for the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. And this game, Nights, actually was first conceived in 1992 during the development of Sonic the Hedgehog 2. But development for Nights didn't really start until about, I would say, 1995, spanning over 6 months of development, and was developed using Silicon graphics. Silicon? I don't know how that's pronounced. But anyway, the Sega Saturn was a flop in North America, and part of that was because it was overshadowed by the likes of the Sony PlayStation and the Nintendo 64. And while the PlayStation and N64 were made as 3D-based consoles, the Saturn, on the other hand, was made to be the ultimate 2D console with 3D capabilities. Talk about bad timing. The Saturn was way more successful in Japan, however. Now, the game's producer, Yuji Naka, came up with the idea of Nights during his travels, when he was taking a flight back to Japan to work with his partner, Naoto Oshima, am I pronouncing that right? And as he was waiting for his airplane, that's where he thought of the idea for a flying game. And I want to say, I think another inspiration came from the idea of lucid dreaming, and I think another inspiration came from Naoto Oshima's travels through Asia and Europe, or something like that. Now, the game was released in 1996 for the Sega Saturn to positive critical reviews, and it was a moderate success, and is regarded as the best-selling game on the Saturn. And the game has grown a cult following over time, and it has had its share of re-releases, including the PlayStation 2 well into 2008, which is a remaster with enhanced graphics, and it also had a remaster for the PS3, Xbox 360 of digital exclusives and Steam in 2012, which that version has since been delisted as of 2024. But you can probably buy an access key through g2a.com. That's where I got it. But I actually tracked down a copy of the Saturn release a year ago in 2025, and that's where I played the game for the first time. Because I wanted to check the game out to see what the fuss was about. But of course I did have to buy a Saturn to play it on. So I actually got a Japanese Sega Saturn on eBay, shipped directly from Japan. This was about, I think, less than $100 or so. which is less expensive than a North American Saturn. And I also got a not for resale edition of Knights, because this was the cheapest option, I think. And unlike most North American Saturn releases, this game can actually be played on the Japanese Saturn without an action replay cartridge, which is nice. So now I'm going to go through a gameplay summary of the game with gameplay footage, and then I'm going to give you my final review. So this is what the game is like. You're this kid in some dream world. You get ganged up on by these monsters, and you go towards this gazebo and switch to this jester character, and you fly from one side to the other in a side-scrolling fashion while flying through rings, attacking enemies, scoring as many points as you can under a 2-minute timer, and collect a number of blue orbs to blow up some alien spaceship thing to retrieve a starry orb. Do that 4 times in each level, and then you fight a boss. Each level has a letter grade system based on how many points you've scored, and your grade has to be at least C or above in each level to beat the game. You can also explore the open 3D area when you start the level, but don't take too long because there's an alarm clock chasing after you, and if it touches you, it's game over. Now you probably have questions like, what kind of game is this where you're a kid and you turn into a flying jester and go around blowing up alien spaceships? Well, it'll all make sense, kind of, after I sum up the story. So the story is centered on these 2 kids, or teenagers or whatever. Their names are Clarice and Elliot, each with their own stories and routes, though it's implied they cross paths with each other and they may or may not be romantically involved. Clarice wants to be a singer, but she has stage fright and is afraid of being rejected by the judges, which results in her having nightmares. Elliot is a basketball player who gets bullied for some reason and has nightmares about that. And that's where the title character Knights comes in. So who or what even is Knights? And where did he or she or they come from? Well, I'll tell you this. Knights isn't a he or a she, but rather genderless, and is referred to by they or them pronouns. And comes from Knightopia, which is the world of dreams or something like that. Knights visits Clarice and Elliot in their sleep and helps them regain confidence in pursuing their dreams. There is a bad guy named Wise Man who uses dreams for his own personal gain or something like that. Wise Man has a group of minions called Nightmaren that he sends out to sabotage you. Their names are Puffy, Gilwang, Gulpo, Claws, Jackal, and Rayla, and they serve as the bosses of the game. You encounter one at the end of each level. Rayla is basically Knights' evil twin. Knights was a Nightmaren, but they rebelled against the others because they wanted to be good. Basically, your goal is to stop Wise Man and his sinister plan and reclaim the 2 main characters' dreams or something. Yeah, the story doesn't make much sense now that I'm thinking about it. But basically, those starry orbs you're recovering are called Idia, which represent human dream energy as well as purity, intelligence, and courage or whatnot. Each orb represents at least one of those things. And those alien spaceship-looking things are called Idia captures. There are 7 levels called Dreams, 3 unique to Clarice and 3 unique to Elliot. The Clarice levels are Spring Valley, Mystic Forest, and Soft Museum. The Elliot levels are Splash Garden, Frozen Bell, and Stick Canyon. Then there's the 7th and final level, Twin Seeds, which is interwoven with both routes. In order to get access to Twin Seeds, your score has to be at least C or above within the past levels of either route. Twin Seeds is where you take on the final boss Wise Man, and after defeating him, you beat the game. So yeah, that's Knights into Dreams basically. But what do I think of the game? Personally, I think Knights into Dreams is a pretty awesome game and quite criminally underrated. It's very creative and original and very fun to play, and also very addicting in terms of trying to up your score in each level. I guess if I had maybe one minor complaint, I do think the game is a tad short. Like, I think it's maybe 2 hours long total. And even though it's challenging, it can get a little boring after a while revisiting each of the 6 or 7 levels to up your score. Like, so it can get a little stale and repetitive, which I guess the variations of the tune where it's like the music kind of changes every time you visit the same level, I guess that does make up for the repetition, but still I think it gets old after a while. But that being said, it was one of the games that really showed what the Saturn was capable of. The graphics might look dated by today's standards, but for the mid to late 90s, the early jump into 3D, it was really impressive, and it's still an enjoyable game and great game, and that's why I give Nights into Dreams a B. Now, with all that said, personally, I think Nights deserves a re-release on modern consoles like the Switch 2, the PS5, and Xbox Series X and S. Like, come on, Sega. I mean, sure, you had Nights make a guest appearance in Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, but I think we could do a little better than that. There was also a sequel to Nights into Dreams that Sega and Sonic Team came out with in 2007 called Nights Journey of Dreams for the Wii, which I don't have a Nintendo Wii to play that on, but I might look into investing in that, and maybe I'll review Journey of Dreams in the future. And anyway, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Also, what are your thoughts on Nights into Dreams? What is your experience if you've played it? Let me know in the comments down below.